Shalom Akim wa Akwaf. Today's episode is featuring the 2018 hit movie Black Panther. We're going to discuss the Afro Asiatic Hebrew connections between the fictional movie Black Panther, the semi-biopic movie The Woman King, and Zora Neale Hurston's novel Barracoon. In our first scene, Michael B. Jordan's character Killmonger is met by the museum's docent in the West African exhibit. First thing we should notice is that Michael B. Jordan's character is wearing fringes. This is a custom that was kept by the Hebrews in the Bible.
Can I help you?
I'm just checking out these artifacts. They tell me you're the expert.
You could say that.
They're beautiful. Where's this one from?
The Bobo Ashanti tribe, present-day Ghana, 19th century.
For real? And what about this one?
That one's from the Edo people of Benin, 16th century.
Pause here. The docent just said that the mask was recovered from the Edo people of Benin in the 16th century. Let's refer to the Emmanuel Bowen 1747 historical African map. In the 16th century, the country Benin was referred to as the Kingdom of Ouida. However, according to this map, the Kingdom of Ouida was referred to as the Kingdom of Judah. The Afro Asiatic Hebrews lived in Africa during this time. According to this map, these descendants of Judah were the Afro Asiatic Hebrews living in Africa.
Now, tell me about this one.
Also from Benin, 7th century, Fula tribe, I believe.
Pause here. The museum's docent claims that the vibranium artifact was recovered in 7th century Benin. Once again, Benin at this time was believed to be settled by the Afro Asiatic Hebrews of Judah that lived in Africa. In the fictional movie Black Panther, the museum's docent mentioned the Ashanti tribe. It's spelled a little different on this map. The Ashanti tribe were the ancient Afro Asiatic people living in Africa. The Fula tribe is located in the Bight of Benin, present-day Ghana. Once again, the Bight of Benin was the home of the Afro Asiatic Hebrews living in Africa during this time. Next, we're going to establish a connection between the two movies, The Black Panther and The Woman King. The Woman King is a 2022 semi-historical film about the Agoji, the all-female warrior unit that protected the West African kingdom of Dahomey during the 17th to 19th centuries. The evil African mercenaries of Dahomey will conquer Chief Hafen and the kingdom of Judah in 1727. After Dahomey conquered the Afro Asiatic Hebrews, they turned the kingdom of Judah into one of the highest grossing slave ports during the transatlantic slave trade. Pictured here is the ex-slave port of Ouida, located in present-day Benin. The English would also refer to this word as Ouida. The Dutch would call it Fida, the French called it Judah, and the Portuguese referred to it as Ajuda. However, the kingdom of Judah got conquered by Dahomey. The kingdom of Dahomey will later become present-day Benin. Benin is the same country that was mentioned in the movie The Black Panther. The Latinized map of Africa in 1588 referred to the same territory as Judaeum Terra, meaning land of the Jews. In the movie The Woman King, King Ghezo's character, played by John Boyega, considered to stop slave trading and move into the palm oil business. King Ghezo would agree to stop slave trading in 1851. In real life, this did happen. King Ghezo would agree to stop slave trading in 1851. However, King Ghezo would renounce his treaty of 1852 to abolish slavery in Dahomey. The king decided to keep trapping Afro-Asiatic Shemites and others for profit. Onto our next source. Let's bring in Zora Neale Hurston's book, Barracoon. The New York Times bestseller Barracoon is based on the accounts of the descendants of the Clotilda. The descendants of the Clotilda was the last known U.S. slave ship to bring captives from Africa to the United States, arriving at Mobile Bay, Alabama in 1859 with 110 African men, women, and children. In the book Barracoon, the retelling of the events that led to the capture of the Clotilda was told by one of its captives, Kasula Alule. Kasula was 18 years old during the time when him and his countrymen were trapped and illegally sold into slavery by Dahomey. Later, Kasula would change his name to Cudjoe Lewis. Let's read this excerpt from Barracoon. King Cudjoe of Dahomey renounced his 1852 treaty to abolish the traffic and by 1857 had resumed his wars and raids. Reports of his activities had reached the newspapers of Mobile, Alabama. A November 9, 1858 article announced that the King of Dahomey was driving a brisk trade at Ouida. This article caught the attention of Timothy Mayer, a slaveholder who, like many pro-slavery Americans, wanted to maintain the transatlantic traffic. In defiance of constitutional law, Mayer decided to import Africans illegally into the country and enslave them. A conspiracy with Mayer, William Foster, who built the Clotilda, outfitted the ship for transport of the contraband cargo. In July 1860, he navigated toward the Bight of Benin. After 6 weeks of surviving storms and avoiding being overtaken by ships patrolling the waters, Foster anchored the Clotilda at the port of Ouida. From 1801 to 1866, an estimated 3,873,600 Africans were exchanged for gold, guns, and other European and American merchandise. Of that number, approximately 444,700 were deported from the Bight of Benin, which was controlled by Dahomey. During the period from 1851 to 1860, approximately 22,500 Africans were exported. And of that number, 110 were taken aboard the Clotilda at Ouida. To sum up our 3 points, in the fictitious movie Black Panther, the Wakandans were involved with the Afro Asiatic Hebrews of Benin. The country Benin, prior to the 1600s, was called the Kingdom of Ouida, or commonly called the Kingdom of Judah, according to the Emmanuel Bowen map of Africa in 1787. The movie The Woman King took place in the Kingdom of Dahomey. The warlike tribe Dahomey conquered the Kingdom of Judah in 1727. Dahomey was trapping and slave trading the Afro Asiatic Hebrews and others who lived in Africa during that time. The kingdoms of Judah and Dahomey today are in present-day Benin. Lastly, King Cudjoe signed a treaty with England to end slave trading, to only break in that treaty 1 year later. When Dahomey broke that treaty, they would end up capturing and slave trading the descendants of the Clotilda. Those descendants live among the Afro Asiatic Hebrews that lived in the Bight of Benin. One last thing before we leave. In the book of View of the Hebrews, written by Ethan Smith in 1823, this book talks about the Afro Asiatic Hebrews that allegedly lived amongst the Aboriginal and Native American communities in the earlier colonial times in the United States. Let's read an excerpt from page 65. Long's exposition to the Rocky Mountains, we learn that the Omaha tribe of Indians who inhabited the west side of the Missouri River, 50 miles above engineer cantonment, believed in one God. They called him Wakanda and believed him to be the greatest and best of beings, the creator and the preserver of all things, the fountain of the mystic medicine, omniscience, omnipresence, and the vast power, and attributed to him, and is supposed to afflict them with sickness, poverty, or misfortune for their evil deeds. In conversation, he is frequently appealed to as an evidence of the truth. As their asseverations, Wakanda hears what I say. Their name God is remarkable, Wakanda. It has been shown that the various of the Indians call God Yahweh, Allah, Yah, and Wah, doubtless from the Hebrew names Jehovah, Allah, Yah, and it has been shown that these syllables which compose the name of God are compounded in many Indian words, are found the roots from which they are formed. Here we find the fact, while the author from whom the account is taken, it is presumed, had no perception of any such thing. Wakanda, the last syllable of the Indian Yahweh, compounded with Kanda, or Yah, Wah, their monosyllabic name of God thus compounded. Here is evidence among those children of the desert, both as to the nature and the name of their one God, corresponding with what was been exhibited of other tribes. Last note, there is no proof in the Bible that the Hebrew word for Jehovah, Yahweh, was ever called Wakanda. Bahashama Mashikawashai.